Good evening. I'm Professor Chuck Ambers, and I'm here at the African Diaspora Museum and Research Center that I created some 22 years ago with my friend King Tutankhamun, and we will share a little history about who I am and how I got here. I'm from Detroit, Michigan, raised in the ghetto, inner city, Black Bottom, the hood, whatever they wanted to call it, whatever they call it today. And I went to high school with Dinah Ross, but let me back up a little bit and say that in public schools, Detroit public schools flunked me in the second grade. And when they were testing me to see which one of those classes that I was going to be put in, one of those dumbbell classes that they have, they tested me a little too much and found I had 129 plus IQ. That's a raw IQ. That does not mean academic IQ. But it was good enough to get me through elementary school and to get a chance to attend the first school in Detroit that was integrated in the middle of the 50s, Cass Technical High School. You had to have 129 plus IQ to get in there. I got in there, went to high school with Dinah Ross from the famous Supremes, but I managed to flunk out in this of Cass Tech, just like I flunked out in the second grade. I went to the local high school and became part of the championship basketball team for 2 out of the 4 years. And it was a historical event because I played with a 7-foot high school basketball player who was the third high school player to go from high school into college. From high school into the pros, Reggie Harding. He played with the Pistons in Detroit and Chicago Bulls. Coming out, I was able to get a little bit of a scholarship that wasn't enough. I talked with the varsity club, African American Club of Men, athletes. They gave me a round trip ticket and $300 to come to California to go to the free junior colleges in January 1962. I hit Oceanside, California in 1962 and was up there for 2.5 to 3 years playing basketball. One class short of my AA degree, it was a science class. And so my scholarship here to San Diego, to California Western, which is now called Point Loma Nazarene. I never got my AA degree, but I finished my BA degree. And my mom, who requested that I go back and declare my one science class to get my AA degree. So I got an AA degree 6 months after I got my BA degree. I started the graduate school here in my teaching credential. And following what President John Kennedy said, if you stay in school, you won't get drafted. That wasn't the real truth, because in my graduate year, I got drafted into the military. My first year, I was at West Point as a medic in the famous hospital there. My second year, I did a tour of Vietnam, and I became radar. If any of you know that old TV series MASH, Mobile Army Surgical Hospital MASH, the head clerk at the evacuation hospital was called Radar. Well, I became Radar for 10 months in Vietnam. Coming out, I finished my teaching credential, finished my AA degree, BA degree, and went on to become a teacher in the Chula Vista School District, right on the Mexican border, a bilingual program. I've taught there for 30 years, but in that 30 years, I had a chance to travel during every summer break, spring break, and winter break to different countries, where I've amassed somewhere near 7,000 books in 9 languages, running through Latin America, taking a doctorate program that I've never finished, because this museum is now my doctorate program. I've been here in Old Town for 22 years after a short retirement, a quick retirement from the public schools. I retired a little early to start the museum. because we had been part of a museum in Detroit with Dr. Charles Wright. 1965, he started the African American Museum in Detroit, which is now the second largest African American museum in the whole world, in that broke, bankrupt city of Detroit. So what gives me the audacity to think that I can run a museum? And we've been doing it for 22 years here in the historical Old Town, where the African Spanish, African Mexican history. And so we try to deal with the whole world of the African diaspora, with 18 countries in Latin America, a dozen countries on the African continent. I've never been to Europe but one time. I spent 13 hours in Heathrow Airport in London on a layover going to ancient Egypt. I probably know more about European history than I can ever forget, and that's why I'm into African world history. And we go to Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Vanuatu, New Caledonia. I teach and write curriculum with the National Education Association, the largest teacher organization in the United States, the American Federation of Teachers, the second largest. We teach with California Teachers Association in a K-16 social studies academic curriculum. And I say not K-12, but K-16, because we teach professors now in the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th grade in teacher training programs. And so that's why I retired a little bit early to do the museum. And now I've been teaching on the college level for 27 years. I used to teach 2 African history classes and 2 African American history classes. But at 78 years old, I'm only down to 1 class that I teach. And now I'm trying to be challenged to teach that online when I've never taught a class online. So Mesa College, look out this fall, because I'm coming to continue my commitment. And that's a part of it. So I will be seeing some of your students and some of you to come to the museum, 6 or 7 million tourists that come to historical Old Town where the first Europeans landed. And that's why I chose to be here, where I don't have to go looking for business. And my museum has been running itself for 22 years. With 7-foot giraffes, wood carvings, stone carvings, bronze heads 2,000 years old from Ife, Benin, and going back to the ancient Egyptians, who were indigenous Black Africans, and the first people to stand on 2 feet and leave footprints from the Ngorongoro crater in ancient Kenya, Tanzania, and Ethiopia. So with that, I'm going to say Shem Hotep, and welcome to the African Diaspora Museum and Research Center.